Welcome to Async. For those of you who are very observant, I'm not Ali. Ali normally does this, but he's unfortunately had to go to the Philippines on holiday to miss snow again. So I'm standing in. A quick introduction to Async for those who are new. So we're the local meetup in Brighton for all things front end, so primarily JavaScript, but also HTML and CSS. We'll meet on the first Thursday of the month. Well done, you know that because you're here. And it's always here at Skiff. And then in addition to that, we've also got a Slack channel and an email group. So if anyone's interested in sort of becoming part of this community, do feel free to give myself or Jake or one of the regulars here a shout and we can sort of get you added to those things. You can join us. You've probably already enjoyed the beer and pizza tonight, and that's very kindly supplied by Casper and Records and Marketing. So I think he's going to say a few words before we get started.
So I'm Casper. I work for Records and Marketing. In case you haven't heard of this, we're part of Records Group, who's an e-commerce giant in Japan. Records and Marketing focuses on performance marketing software and services, things like affiliate, display ads, search, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in working with us, come and say hi. And yeah, we're really proud to sponsor this evening, and I hope it's not the last one. And yeah, give it up for Cassie.
I am Cassie. I'm going to quickly plug something before I start talking. I'm one of the organisers of CodeBar. A few of you might know CodeBar, might come to CodeBar. CodeBar is a free weekly programming workshop that we run to help increase diversity in tech. So we're always in need of new coaches. If anyone has programming skills of any sort, come along and help out. You can look at us on Twitter at CodeBar Brighton, I think, or come talk to me afterwards. Right, talk. Right, limitation breeds creativity. Title. So when I was titling this talk, I was a little bit worried because I didn't want to give the impression that CSS is in any way limiting. It's a very exciting time at the moment for CSS. We've got Flexbox, so vertical centering and horizontal centering is fine now for the first time in a very long time. We've got grid, and that's kind of pushing the boundaries of new layouts. And we've got animations, all sorts of stuff. So I don't really see CSS itself as limiting, but I am talking about limitations. So my main loves are web animation. I really love animation in general, but web animation, people get to interact with it. So you get to make something that not only people can see, but they can press a button, they can do something, they can interact with it in some way, be part of it. I really love that. And the other thing that I love is pushing boundaries of CSS. I'm not going to say limits. I like doing things with just HTML and CSS and seeing how far I can push it. So this is me all the time. This is also why I find limitations useful. To give you a little bit of information, feedback into my brain, when I was writing this talk, it took me about 3 hours to find that GIF. I just got so distracted by finding the perfect GIF that I completely forgot what I was doing, and then looked up 3 hours later and I was like, oh crap. So I kind of find I'm quite fresh into web development. I started learning how to code about 1.5 years ago. So for me, everything is just new and exciting. Everything is exciting. And there's new things popping up all the time. There's new libraries and new frameworks and new languages I haven't looked at before, and just so much stuff. And I find that because of my predisposition to get distracted by stuff, and also my anxiety, I end up not doing anything. And I'll look at everything and I'll go, oh, I'm bad at everything, and I don't know how to start, so I'm just going to not do anything, and I'll sit on the couch and I'll watch a movie and I'll think in the back of my mind about all the things that I'm bad at that I don't know how to do, and it's not a good way to do things. So I found limitations are good for that. Yeah, that was the slide I was meant to be at. So limitations, you wouldn't think that limitations are something that would actually help you be creative. But when you put constraints on something, you can get rid of some of the reasons why you wouldn't start in the first place. If you put a time constraint on it, then you've got to do something within that hour. If you put a constraint in terms of the theme of it, you've got to do something within that theme. Or if you choose like a library or a framework or a language or something, you've got to do something within that. And it can kind of get rid of some of the stuff that stops you from getting started in the first place. And yeah, when I was putting together this talk, it actually was just originally me showing off a few of the things that I've been the most proud of over the last little while, or I've had the most fun with or learned the most from. And I realised that limitations were the thing that kind of bound them all together. It was all of the things that I wanted to show were things that had limitations put on them. Stop saying limitations. Yeah. So the first time that I made something with just HTML and CSS was unexpected. But I hadn't quite realised that it was something that I enjoyed yet. We just had a particularly difficult client at work, really. We had made this video for Goldsmiths University, which is great. Like, the whole campaign was based around this kind of making change, and we had all these glitch animations between photos of students in gear that they'd wear for their career, for their job, and then in clothes that they'd wear in normal life, and kind of glitching between the two of them. And we took this to Goldsmiths University, and the guy in charge of the campaign just went, yes, that's great, we'll use that for everything. And we were like, oh, and he was like, everything, we just want to use that for everything. And it's great for the video ads that we were doing, Facebook campaigns, that was fine, we could just use the videos, but a lot of the ads that we were doing were just HTML ads. And some of them supported video, but a large amount of the ads that we were doing for them didn't support video at all. They didn't support JavaScript. It was just HTML and just CSS, and it had to be done in under 130 kilobytes. And my boss, who doesn't code, just came to me and was like, here we go, got to do this now. So I did, because I'm mad. No, it's not the right one. We'll get there. Hey. So yeah, that's the ad. But I'll stop talking at you now and actually get into the code bits, which is probably what everyone's interested in the first place. So yeah, I showed this off at the International Show and Tell meetup, and a few people wanted to know exactly how I did it. It's about 6,000 lines of CSS. So I made an external demo because I'm not going to trawl through all of that. Also, when I started trawling through it, I realised how terrible all of it was, as you're prone to when you start going back over code that you did over a year ago. So yeah, I'm going to do live uncommenting out because I'm not quite brave enough to do live coding, so bear with me if I uncomment out the wrong thing. Well, it just won't work, but we'll see. Right, so basically what we've got is we've got a container that has 3 images inside it, and they're kind of stacked on top of each other. So right now you can see the bottom one. Some wine. That one's the middle one. So the middle one's got a desaturation filter on. And then the top one has a hue filter on. So that's quite cool. But the really cool bit is clip path. And this is the thing that's making all of the stuff happen. So clip path creates like a clipping region that tells you what part of the element to display. So this clip path, we're saying run. There we go. Can you see it? Yeah. So we're saying in that clip path it's going to be 20% of the way from the top, 0% left and right, and then 50-something% from the bottom. So I basically used that, but in a whole bunch of keyframes. So take that out. So yeah, can you see the thing?
Make it a little bit bigger.
Load zoom in. Yeah?
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
Cool, so in the keyframes for this glitch animation, I'm basically taking different sections of the image on the top and then transforming them slightly to the left and the right. So, yeah, just chopping out different sections of the image. So, just going to change that. That's good. I did what I needed it to do. Right, so I'm going to apply it on hover. So hopefully, yeah. Awesome. So you can see it's chopping out different sections of it and moving them around. It's really smooth right now though, because it's transitioning from one clip path to another smoothly. The browser's kind of filling in all of the details in between each clip path. So we can fix this with steps. And steps is pretty cool. Very lesser known CSS animation thing. It's a timing function, and it defines how many keyframes you're going to see, transitions you're going to see in between each keyframe. So I've made a little example because it's easier to see on an example with a little dot. So right now the dot's going from left to right in a linear fashion. You can see all of the steps in between. If we say steps 5, for example, that as well. Yeah, it will go from left to right in five steps. It's a really handy thing for doing sprite animations with. But yeah, that was the key when I figured out that you could do clip path and you could do the steps thing. I was like, I know how to do it. So yeah, if we add steps in there, then it's like a little bit more jerky, which is a little bit closer to what we wanted it to be. And then the middle layer, it's kind of like a secondary animation. Like animations always work best when you've got a primary and a secondary animation. The secondary one kind of backs up the first one, adds a little bit more interest. So the next set of keyframes, it's just going from 0% opacity to 0.3% opacity and just moving left and right a little bit. If we comment that in, did I comment it in already? I think I commented it in already. Let's just run it and see. Yeah. I'll make it bigger. Yeah, so that's basically what's happening. The glitch animation that I did in the first case, there's 4 different versions of this because there's 4 different slides, I guess, of the ad itself. So I've had to do this for one of them, then fade it out, then fade another one in, and then fade that one out, fade another one in. But that's pretty much what's going on. Yeah. Oh, nerves. Still going to talk about things. Right. Hey, so those aren't the only limitations. So those were imposed by a client. It was when I realised that I found making things with just CSS really fun. It was just when you manage to make something like that and you show people, especially people who do JavaScript, and you show them that you've managed to do that with CSS, everyone treats you like you're some kind of wonderful wizard, which is brilliant. So I really love that, and since then I've started trying to make things in CSS myself, just for fun. So I made this game recently, not with CSS, for Hampshire County Council to try and teach kids how to recycle. So it kind of went like this. So we'll count down, falling objects. It's best on tablet, but you get the idea. The bin does little jumping animations and little shaking animations if it's sad. And it counts up a score. There's like 3 levels, a whole load of complicated things. And I had seen an article by Una Kravitz about CSS counters and counter increments and how you can use CSS to make games. And I'd seen it and laughed at it and thought that it was ridiculous. And then I made a game and I was like, just try and remake that. So I did. I did it with CSS counter. I've made a little example of what a CSS counter is, just in case you wanted to know what it's used for when it's not being hacked apart in silly ways to make games. So a CSS counter, it's a variable that can be incremented by CSS. Now we've got already ordered lists. Yeah, ordered lists, that's the right one, that you can kind of increment a value depending on where something is in the document. You can only really do that on lists, and you might want to order sections, so you might want to have different sections of a web page that have an order on them. And you could do that manually, but it would mean that every time you add in a section, you've got to work out what number it is. If you move the sections around, then you'd have to change the numbers manually. So with this, you can just add sections in and break it. No, didn't break it, and it automatically numbers it. So how it works is on the body, you use counter reset to define a counter, and then you use counter increment to increment a counter value, add a value to or detract a value from the counter, and then you use content to put that number into an element on the web page. So in this case, I'm using a before pseudo element to just pop the number in front there. So that's what it's used for. Not super exciting. It gets exciting though when you find out that you can use checked elements to increment a counter. So you can say, when something is checked, I want it to add 2 to the counter. When something else is checked, I want it to minus from the counter. That's when it gets really exciting. And then if you add a whole bunch of hacky CSS, and get rid of all the styling on the checkboxes and add background images on the checkboxes, you end up with something like this. I'm really bad at playing. Oh, no, it's working. 5 points, 7 points, 9 points. Don't get any of the bad rubbish. Yeah, so that's all CSS. If you don't believe me, we will, bam! Yeah, it's pretty good, that. It's a lot of fun. I went into work the next day and I was like, I made the game again in CSS! And all of my workmates went, oh, God, Cassie. Why? Yeah, so that's it. I know that CSS might not be all of your things. You might not be super interested in it, but I hope that the talk inspires you to push the limits of whatever the thing is that you're interested in, and maybe discover some like hidden gems that you wouldn't otherwise. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Has anyone got any questions for Cassie?
Questions are good. Questions are good.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Hi.
So given the capabilities of CSS, why are web applications still so boring?
I don't know, because they haven't hired me to work on them. I think that actually the like web animation is a trend of 2018. Actually, it's definitely a thing that's being given a lot more weight and gravitas. I think because before it was kind of looked at as like a frippery, as like an additional extra, and there's been a lot of studies recently that show that it kind of helps cognitive load and it helps guide a user around a web page. And as soon as you can say things like that, when you say words like cognitive load and guiding the user around and user experience and stuff, that the people in charge of the project, then they listen more and will probably let you mess around with animations a little bit more. Yeah.
So your designs are really beautiful. Do you have a background in animation and you're using CSS to express that, or did you learn how to do that as well?
I have a bit of a, I went to a design college, I studied photography, but the college that I went to was kind of multidisciplinary, so we learned quite a lot of graphic design, a little bit of animation at the same time. So I actually got into web development because I stopped doing photo retouching and wanted to get into web design. I was like, I want to make the websites look pretty. I had no idea what that meant. And I started a like short course at City College, and I was just really bored until the coding bit started. And it was half a lesson. It was Dreamweaver as well. It was really not. The guy that was running the course was like stuck in the 80s. But we did something, I can't remember what it was, with code, and I was like, that's amazing! That's magic, I want to do that thing. So, yeah.
How did you go from there? Like, so you did a college, I mean, how did you kind of get to this level? Did you follow like some path, or?
I taught myself quite a lot, and then I found CodeBar. And I started going to CodeBar, which really helped because I was not sure whether I was learning the right things, and it helped going every Tuesday and meeting up with similar like-minded people. And then the organisers of Code Bar left, and I thought that it would just all crumble, and I was like, I'll do it, so I kind of took it over. But yeah, Code Bar helped. Also, I'm really good at this stuff, I'm not that good at the actually making things in the right ways stuff yet. I basically started learning how to code, and I went off on a massive tangent. So all the things I make are like animated rockets and space dust and CSS games. So yeah, it's not an additional extra.
So do you think I'm a product manager, so I'm not a front-end developer, but to make beautiful like designs and animations and CSS gorgeousness like that, do you think you need a background in design and graphic design or designing in a way to be a truly good like front end?
Those are a lot of compliments. That was a lot of compliments in one sentence. I don't know. I think if anything, I've got maybe like a natural bent for making things.
But what I mean is,
pretty.
like, if you can wrangle CSS to make something look great, but do you have to, or do you just pull the design from a designer?
You can be a really good, talented front end developer who is not good at making things pretty at all. Anna Tudor is one of my heroes, and she's amazing. She's maths genius, like science, super logical, and she makes all of these amazing animations, but she constantly says that she can't make things look pretty, and she has a lot of rants on Twitter about people approaching her for animation projects when she's not an animator, and she just works in really close collaboration with people that are good at making the things look pretty. So she can take something like an animation that was made in After Effects, and she can work out the maths and the logic behind it. And I think that there's a lot of skills and there's a lot of intersections. I think that I'm kind of right where design and front-end development intersect. If it gets a little bit too mathsy, a little bit too intense in the JavaScript direction, I panic a little bit. I've tried HTML Canvas quite a few times, and sometimes it goes well if I'm in the mood, but sometimes I'm like, I don't understand. And again, like, there's a lot of designers who are a lot better than me. It's finding a niche. Hey.
Hi. Thanks for the talk. Can you show us some of your favourite Anna Tudor code pens?
I can, actually. I'll probably just check her out. Yeah, I mean, like right at the top of her code pens that I don't do animation design. Use the hire button only if you want to pay me to code something. This is the one. Yeah, she like live coded this in like 30 minutes in front of a whole group of people. It's madness. Yeah, she does amazing things.
That's just CSS, then?
Yes, that's just CSS. That even for me that's mind blowing. But she uses Sass a lot, so she writes a lot of, with Sass you can write functions and declare variables and all of that kind of thing. I'm just kind of getting my head around it, but maths background, this woman. But again, someone designed that and gave her the colours, and she took it and coded it. Yes.
What are your thoughts on using libraries like GreenSock code?
I love GreenSock.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
okay.
the game that I showed you, that was the JavaScript game.
Yeah.
Before I CSS'd it, I used GreenSock for that.
Nice.
It's amazing.
What is that?
It's a web animation library. It's supported on everything. It's really accessible and like easy to use, and there's a good community around it as well. So I'm part of the GreenSock Slack channel, and I use GreenSock a lot at work. And I don't work with people who can help me. One of the downsides of my job, but I have a lot of Slack channels and communities of people. So yeah, I've managed to make that game with little to no knowledge and a Slack channel of people that could give me pointers. You do collision detection in GreenSock, so that's how I managed to like detect the objects. And they've also got like a draggable thing, so that's how the bin moves. It's all GreenSock. Yeah.
Cool. So, but you like to use limitations, so you were like, yeah, I'll try to do that with just CSS.
Yes, I mean, the CSS bit was more of a fun game thing for me.
Yeah.
Because the original game, we actually had a brief and there were levels and there had to be a shareable score at the end, so there were definitely things that you can't do with CSS.
Cool. Is that everyone?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, can you
Wait.
Just got a quick one.
Oh, go on.
How did you increment the score of those things and have the items disappear when you click on them in just CSS? Like, I know you had the counter thing.
Okay, we can go a little bit deeper if you want. Right, so so we've got good objects and bad objects. The bad objects, when it's checked, they're incrementing the counter by -1, and good objects are incrementing them by 2.
Is it, if they're checked, they also disappear because they have display none or something?
No, it's a little bit more than that. That's a bit of sass to randomly position everything. I'm trying to remember now. I think there's an animation on them, but there's also a pseudo element. Yes. So they just fade out because I've also got on the checked checkboxes, there's a pseudo element on the checked class. So when you click it, the +1 or the -2 pops up. So if you did display none, then the pseudo element wouldn't work because it wouldn't be connected to anything, just disappear. So all of the elements, once they're checked, they just fade opacity to 0, and then the pseudo element pops up.
Okay.
You can look it up. I'll link you to it.
Sure.
So I might sound a little obtuse saying this. You showed us the really simple version of the counter, which I looked at and I was like, that's just like an ordered list, right? So my natural thinking was, if they've got that as like the basic use case, they must have thought about, I'd say they, like the people who made CSS and designed it. Is this actually normal use of CSS, or is this like stretching the limits and breaking what it's designed to do?
It is kind of breaking the limits of what it's designed to do. But also the example that I gave of the check classes being, the counter being used, it looks like an ordered list, but you have to imagine if there was lots of other content in between there. So I made the game with it first before I figured out what it was actually used for, and then I kind of had to reverse engineer that, and I was like, wait, what is this actually used for? And the way that I can figure it out is if you had a lot of sections of different content on a website, you could order those sections like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you've got lots of other stuff in between it. So it's not, right now you could just do that with an ordered list. But if you had lots of content in between it, then you couldn't do that. Or you had a really big website, maybe Jeremy even knows why. Do you know why it would be?
Well, like you could edit the HTML there. Between your item divs, you could add in anything.
Yeah.
And you still, that content will show up, but it won't have any counters. Counters are explicitly for the things that are classified as secret. So it's almost a way of maintaining state in CSS.
That is true. Yeah, so if we popped pop that in without the.
Ooh. We can't do that with an ordered list.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, this has given me another couple of ideas for 2 questions. Have you tried nesting these things? And how does that work with like different variables for the nested lists of stuff? And can you convert those numbers to letters?
You can. Oh, you can do. Let's see here. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just gonna casually Google some things. Yeah, you can do. That's just great, isn't it? That's why I don't do live coding.
You need it on the content?
Yeah, maybe it's meant to be in content.
See, Apple Roman meant to be on the counter rather than counter.
Yeah, content. That's the one. Yeah! You can do that! And there's a whole bunch of other things you can do, apparently, but you should Google them on your own. Hey.
Have you recycle your sprites in that game, or does it? Have you recycle your sprites, or are there just like lots and lots of them? Like the things that are coming down that you're clicking?
In the CSS version?
Yeah.
No, there's just a whole bunch of
You
them.
just put loads of them.
Yeah, they just put loads of them in, and then it times out before the browser crashes.
It doesn't recycle and runs out of items.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. Is that it?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So just to say, next month we've got the next month's Async is a show and tell special. So it's the spring show and tell, which is Thursday, the 5th of April. So if anyone has something fun and exciting to show, it's 5 minutes each, and it's good fun. I think you did it last time.
It's good fun.
So yeah, bring something. And other than that, and yeah, get involved in Kobar, as Cassie said. That's definitely worth doing. We normally go to the pub down the road, which is called
Nelson.
that one. So follow half the group know where it is if you'd like to come along. And other than that, just please say thanks again to Cassie.
I just realised that there's a bonus round because I forgot to show something. It's like an encore. It's like self-inflicted encore. Yeah, I just thought the clip path thing, because I was just showing a bit of a wacky way of implementing it, but I did actually use it for a proper project the other day, so I was just thinking in case anyone wanted to see how it would actually be used in the real world. We just got this new branding at work with this like little chop out of the top and the bottom of the N. My boss is very keen on that. It's like a framing device, it has to be on everything. So I use ClipPath to animate the little chunks. Yeah, and it animates. It's cool. I mean, you can see there that it goes from it moves, which is an awesome thing. And there, if anyone's interested in looking it up a little bit more, this is a really cool little GUI to help you wrap your head around what all of the numbers are. So you can actually drag the points around and chop the shapes out that you want to chop out, and then copy the CSS, which is pretty good, really. Yeah, here we go. That's it. Bonus round.